It's just after midnight in the vast, inky darkness of South Texas. The stillness is shattered as a gleaming new SpaceX Starship, Ship 36, stands tall under the harsh glare of floodlights at the remote Massey's test site, situated roughly 5 miles west of SpaceX's bustling Starbase complex. Suddenly, the quiet night explodes into chaos. A blinding fireball engulfs the rocket, painting the sky in orange and red hues visible for miles, and in mere seconds, years of relentless high-tech engineering are reduced to twisted metal and acrid smoke. The world, tuned in live via SpaceX's global livestream and social media, watches in disbelief. Is this a catastrophic setback, or just another bold leap in Elon Musk's relentless campaign to conquer Mars? Just hours before, optimism was running high. Ship 36, the latest Starship upper stage, was being meticulously prepared for a crucial static fire test. SpaceX engineers, clad in fire-retardant suits and surrounded by blinking monitors, checked and rechecked their systems. They ran through their signature rapid iteration checklist: build, test, break, and refine. This philosophy, now synonymous with SpaceX's approach, is radically different from the slow, incremental pace of traditional aerospace giants. But this time, disaster struck before the engines even roared to life. Observers first saw an ominous plume of condensation billow from the rocket's tip. Then, in the blink of an eye, a violent detonation shattered the calm. The explosion was so powerful it could be seen from the nearby Starbase production and launch sites, startling both engineers and local residents alike. For those who have followed the Starship story from the beginning, scenes like this have almost become a rite of passage. Boca Chica, the windswept stretch of Texas coastline that hosts SpaceX's Starbase, has borne witness to an extraordinary saga of triumph, heartbreak, and ambition. From the whimsical hops of the stubby Starhopper prototype in 2019, to the fiery flights and spectacular crashes of early ships like SN8 and SN9, failure has been as much a part of SpaceX's story as its dazzling successes. Each test, successful or not, has propelled the dream forward. A fully reusable, heavy-lift rocket system capable of carrying people and cargo to the Moon, Mars, and, ultimately, other planets. The stakes for SpaceX have never been higher. NASA, the revered American space agency, has officially selected Starship as the human landing system for its Artemis 3 mission, a crewed lunar landing now scheduled for the year 2027. Elon Musk, never one to shy away from audacious predictions, has envisioned hundreds of Starship flights to Mars as soon as 2 years from now, with hopes for a self-sustaining human settlement on the red planet within our lifetimes. The entire global space community is watching, with both awe and anxiety. Yet the road to the stars has become increasingly treacherous in recent months. This year alone, just half over, Starship prototypes have suffered 4 major anomalies, each one a public and painful reminder of the perils of pushing technology to its limits. In January, the 7th flight test was marred by unexpected vibrations, known as a harmonic response, that placed enormous stress on the ship's propulsion system. This led to propellant leaks and, ultimately, a fire that doomed the vehicle. In March, the 8th flight fell victim to a mysterious hardware failure in one of the powerful Raptor engines, which triggered a cascade of failures in several other engines. By late May, the 9th flight seemed to be going smoothly until a propellant leak during re-entry caused the ship to tumble uncontrollably, ending in a fiery, uncontrolled breakup high above the Earth. Now, Ship 36, the vehicle that was supposed to carry the Starship program into double-digit flight numbers, has ended its life on the test stand, destroyed before it ever reached the launch pad. The cause? Early analysis points toward a catastrophic failure in the header tanks, small but critical vessels near the ship's tip that store landing propellant. Telemetry data and video suggest a possible anomaly during the final phase of liquid oxygen or liquid methane fueling. Within seconds, the result was a massive explosion that lit up the Texas night. Around the world, the space community is divided. Some, like the anonymous industry official at the prestigious Paris Air Show, expressed outright concern. Starship development seems to be regressing. These kinds of failures haven't been seen since the earliest test campaigns years ago. It raises questions about whether the program is moving forward or spinning its wheels. Others, particularly those steeped in the engineering culture of iterative testing, see things differently. For them, each explosion is not a defeat, but a lesson, sometimes costly, always valuable. This philosophy of learning through failure is deeply woven into the SpaceX DNA. From the very beginning, Elon Musk has insisted that rapid prototyping and frequent transparent testing even when it results in spectacular explosions, are the surest path to radical innovation. The path to Mars goes through a lot of scrap metal, he quipped in a post-flight press briefing, a nod to the countless destroyed prototypes lined up at the Starbase scrapyard. He has openly acknowledged that every major breakthrough in rocketry, from the Apollo program to the Space Shuttle, was built on a foundation of trial, error, and yes, plenty of failure. However, as the failures accumulate, critics and regulators have grown uneasy. The United States Federal Aviation Administration, or FAA, has responded to each incident with escalating scrutiny. Every anomaly now triggers a full-scale investigation, with teams of safety experts and engineers poring over data logs, video footage, and physical debris. The FAA's mandate is to ensure that all launches meet rigorous safety and environmental standards, not just for SpaceX's employees, but for the surrounding communities and sensitive coastal ecosystems. Local officials, too, have become more vocal, urging SpaceX to slow down and prioritize safety over schedule. Residents of nearby Boca Chica village, many of whom have watched these tests from their front porches, are asking hard questions about whether SpaceX's relentless pace is putting lives and property at risk. Michael Baylor, a respected analyst who has chronicled the Starship program since its inception, explains, "The iterative approach is essential for advancing technology at this scale, but the balance with risk mitigation is delicate. How many failures are too many? At what point does rapid progress turn into reckless endangerment?" The tension is palpable. With the world's eyes on SpaceX, the pressure to deliver results has never been greater. NASA's Artemis program, America's most ambitious lunar initiative in more than half a century, depends on Starship's success. The international competition to reach Mars is no longer the stuff of science fiction novels, but a real, unfolding race between nations and private enterprise. Yet, with each fiery mishap, the timeline for humanity's return to the Moon and its first steps on Mars seems to slip further into the future. So, has SpaceX's rapid-fire development hit an immovable wall? Are these setbacks merely painful but necessary lessons on the road to historic breakthroughs? Or are they warning signs that even Elon Musk's legendary risk tolerance has limits? Let's explore what the future might hold for SpaceX and the Starship program, now that the dust has settled over another spectacular setback. One possible scenario is that SpaceX could pivot toward a more conservative, safety-focused path. This would mean implementing stricter protocols, intensifying oversight, and perhaps even revising the entire testing cadence. The FAA, now more vigilant than ever, is likely to scrutinize every upcoming test and launch with unprecedented rigor. This could translate into longer delays, possibly stretching for months or even a year before Starship is cleared to fly again. But with greater caution comes greater reliability. Such a shift is the only way SpaceX can secure and maintain its coveted launch licenses, especially with NASA's lunar landing mission and the public's trust hanging in the balance. This scenario is not without precedent. Following the tragic loss of the Space Shuttle Challenger in 1986, NASA paused its shuttle program for nearly 3 years, conducting exhaustive investigations and overhauling its safety protocols. While the delay was painful, it ultimately made the shuttle fleet safer and more reliable. Alternatively, SpaceX might temporarily scale back its most ambitious goals, redirecting focus to less risky projects such as Starlink satellite deployments or suborbital research flights. These missions, while less glamorous than crewed lunar or Martian expeditions, are critical for the company's bottom line and technological maturation. Starlink, SpaceX's vast satellite internet constellation, has already changed the game for global connectivity, providing high-speed broadband even in remote and underserved regions. By continuing to launch Starlink satellites and perform lower-stakes missions, SpaceX can generate steady revenue, maintain momentum, and give its engineering teams the breathing room needed to address the technical gremlins that have haunted recent Starship tests. However, this approach would inevitably push back the timelines for those historic lunar and Mars missions that Elon Musk has promised, sometimes with characteristic optimism, as soon as 2 years from now. As Joey Roulette, a veteran space reporter, observes, rapid iteration is a double-edged sword. It brings progress, but it also cuts into schedules when things go sideways. There is a third, perhaps more methodical scenario. SpaceX could shift to a component-focused development process, emphasizing thorough testing and redesign of the Starship's most failure-prone systems. The Raptor engines, among the most powerful and complex rocket engines ever built, and the notorious header tanks have both been implicated in recent failures. By isolating these components, subjecting them to exhaustive ground tests, and refining their designs, SpaceX might finally break the cycle of recurring anomalies. This approach would slow overall progress, but it could yield a Starship that is not only massive and capable, but also robust enough to withstand the violent realities of spaceflight. As Dr. Erica Wagner, a respected space historian and industry veteran, reminds us, every major leap in rocketry has faced setbacks. It's how teams learn from them that defines their legacy. The Saturn V, for example, suffered multiple engine failures and was redesigned several times before it ever carried astronauts to the moon. But what do these technical and regulatory debates mean for you, the entrepreneur, the technologist, the curious viewer, or the dreamer looking skyward? At its core, SpaceX's Starship journey is a masterclass in innovation, risk-taking, and resilience. In the world of high-stakes aerospace, and indeed in any cutting-edge industry, failure is not a detour from success. It's often the main road. Real progress demands that we take calculated risks, embrace the discomfort of public setbacks, and keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible. When you see Starship erupt in flames, you're witnessing learning at the very edge of human capability. For every headline-grabbing disaster, there are hundreds of behind-the-scenes lessons being logged, protocols being rewritten, and engineers devising solutions to problems that, until yesterday, had no answers. There's a powerful takeaway here for anyone facing big challenges, whether you're building rockets, launching a startup, or navigating your own career. Don't be afraid of failure, but don't ignore the risks either. The key is to balance ambition with caution, boldness with humility. Embrace rapid learning and iteration, but be wise enough to hit pause, reevaluate, and pivot when necessary. If a company as daring and resourceful as SpaceX can pause, redesign, and come back stronger after a setback, so can you. As Michael Baylor succinctly puts it, iterative testing is essential for innovation, but only if you're willing to confront your mistakes head-on. That's where real breakthroughs happen. Zooming out, can SpaceX truly balance speed, safety, and soaring ambition? The honest answer? It's a high-wire act with no guarantees. Regulatory scrutiny is intensifying, public concern is mounting, and yet, the lure of the moon and Mars has never been closer. The next moves SpaceX makes, whether toward caution, methodical redesign, or continued audacity, will shape not just the company's destiny, but the future of human space exploration itself. It's worth remembering that history's greatest space triumphs were paved with setbacks the public rarely saw. The Apollo program, often remembered for the glory of Neil Armstrong's first steps, endured more than its share of failures: engine explosions, lost spacecraft, and near-fatal accidents. The mighty Saturn V, the rocket that carried humanity to the moon, experienced multiple catastrophic engine failures during early tests. Even after these setbacks, NASA pressed on, learning and improving until success was finally achieved. The Space Shuttle program, too, was nearly canceled after the Challenger and Columbia tragedies, but each time the program returned stronger, incorporating hard lessons into safer designs. And these lessons are not limited to American spaceflight. In the 1960s, the Soviet Union's N-1 lunar rocket, intended to beat America to the moon, suffered a series of disastrous explosions, none of which were broadcast to the world at the time. The Soviet program ultimately abandoned its moon ambitions, but many of the technologies developed during that era found their way into future rockets and space stations. Across the world, agencies from the European Space Agency to China's CNSA have adopted iterative testing, and all have faced their own setbacks on the way to orbit and beyond. So, what does all this mean for the ongoing Starship saga? The answer is still unwritten. Will Starship's repeated setbacks end in ultimate triumph, or will it become a cautionary tale of overreach? That's the story we're all watching, one explosion, and hopefully, one breakthrough at a time. Your perspective matters. Do you think SpaceX should slow down and focus on safety, or keep pushing the envelope in pursuit of Mars and beyond? Are these failures evidence of reckless risk, or necessary steps on the road to greatness? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you haven't already, subscribe for more deep dives into the intersection of technology, economics, and the future of humanity. The journey